As the eviction moratorium is extended for another month, one landlord says that it is killing small landlords. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. All right, so I have another interesting article for you today, and it's coming to us from CNBC.com. But before I get into that article, go ahead, hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't already done so, and maybe leave a comment down below. And I'll keep working to bring you great articles about the eviction moratorium and other news that's of interest to landlords. So, this article says, the eviction moratorium is killing small landlords, says one, as ban is extended another month. Yeah, as you know by now, the eviction moratorium was extended all the way till the end of July, and a lot of landlords, they're just really struggling right now. And I'm going to keep bringing you the articles that show you the personal cost for landlords in particular, because a lot of the articles you read, they always are talking about the tenants, the tenant rights, etc., as though we aren't stakeholders and we're not the ones who are directly involved in all of this. Okay, we're the ones who could lose our shirts, we're the ones who could lose our properties to foreclosure, we're the ones who could face bankruptcy. Okay, and yeah, we could even end up homeless too. I've gone over an article where a landlord did end up homeless because of the eviction moratorium. So yeah, we are direct stakeholders in everything that's happening right now, and our story needs to be heard just like everyone else's. So let's get into this article. The 1-month extension of the CDC eviction moratorium was welcome news for tenants, but another nail in the coffin for some struggling landlords. Groups representing landlords had been lobbying hard to end the moratorium and now warn even another month will put some of these landlords out of business. Each passing month further escalates the risk of losing an ever-increasing amount of rental housing, ultimately jeopardizing the availability of safe, sustainable, and affordable housing for all Americans, wrote Bob Pinniger, CEO of the National Apartment Association, in a release. Flawed eviction moratoriums leave renters with insurmountable debt and housing providers holding the bag as our nation's housing affordability crisis spirals into housing affordability disaster. Yeah, now he made a couple of really good points right here, okay? The first thing being that the eviction moratorium is actually affecting the supply of rental housing. And I'm sure some people wonder, how is that exactly happening? Well, the landlords who are unable to evict tenants or who have suffered catastrophic losses from not getting paid rent, rather than continuing to keep that property as a rental property, if it's a single family home, they're selling to owner occupants, okay? They're selling to those owner occupants, and then that property no longer is a rental property anymore, and now is just a single family owner occupied home. So this is happening in cases all across the country, and a lot of landlords are just completely getting out of the business. I mean, small landlords will only own 1 or 2 properties in a lot of cases, so it's pretty easy for them to just say, hey, I don't want to do this anymore. I know that the bigger landlords, the ones who own multifamily buildings, those multifamily buildings will always be rental properties. That's just the way it works. But when you're talking about single family homes, if the landlords just sell these properties off, well, to owner occupants, then they're no longer rentals, and that's just the way it's going to be. So yeah, we're talking about a world where a lot of the rental property stock could be lost, and it's all caused by this eviction moratorium. Let's see here. The majority of the nation's landlords are individual investors. They own about 23 million units in 17 million properties, according to the U.S. Census. More than 6 million renter households are behind on rent, also according to the census. Landlords have next to no recourse. Howard Simon owns a small building in Massachusetts with 3 rental units. He hasn't received the rent on one of them since last October and is out about $7,000 so far. I have mortgages. I have expenses for repairs to that particular building. I'm losing 1/3 of the rent just because of this, said Simon. And the other tenants who are occupying the other 2 units, they're trying their hardest and doing their best. Yeah, just a typical story from a small landlord, who's out $7,000 so far. So, I mean, This guy is able to stay afloat so far, fortunately, but just imagine if all three tenants weren't paying, or if two out of the three tenants weren't paying. This guy would be coming out of his own pocket every single month just to make sure this building stays up. Hell, he might be coming out of his own pocket right now, just down, one set of rental income, and that's not the way that any business should be forced to run, okay? And that it isn't right. It's wrong that the government hasn't stepped in there and ended this thing yet. But if they're going to keep it going, they need to make the rental assistance programs a lot easier for landlords, okay? I mean, the rental assistance programs are a joke, okay? They put so many stipulations on things, and there has to be total cooperation between the landlord and the tenant, and the landlord has to make all these extra sacrifices in order to get the money. And even if they jump through the hoops, it could be months before they see a penny. And is that the best way to make sure these businesses survive? I don't think so. Simon has contacted the delinquent tenants but said they will not respond, nor will they apply for the aid available to them. While about $34 billion in federal assistance has been distributed to states for back rent and utilities, getting that cash to landlords has been an onerous process because the tenant must be involved. In my particular instance, the tenant is not cooperating with even completing the application. I'm just a small landlord, and I'm not a big corporation like many of the other large rental organizations. So although the funding is very helpful, if the tenant doesn't cooperate, everything falls apart, said Simon. Yeah, absolutely, okay? And that's the problem right there. Why did they create this program where the landlord, the one who actually is suffering the loss due to the tenant not paying, why did they create this program where the landlord just can't apply on their own and say, hey, look, I'm suffering these losses because of your eviction moratorium, the government's eviction moratorium, so please send me the government money, to cover my losses that you caused. But no, instead they said, oh, no, this is a benefit to the tenant. I'm like, yeah, it is a benefit to the tenant, but the financial responsibility for all of this falls on to the landlord. And that's what they are forgetting, okay? Before the extension of the eviction ban, there would have been about 473,000 eviction filings in July and August, according to calculations by Zillow from census estimates. That is down by about 100,000 from what was forecast last March. The improvement is due to the federal aid reaching some renters, as well as an overall improvement in the economy and employment. The numbers are likely to decline further with an extra month of breathing room. Still, landlords say they are angry at the way the federal aid, $46 billion from two different relief packages, has been allocated and distributed. If the rental assistance bureaucracy is a monster, then the local governments that created them are Dr. Frankenstein, said Dean Hunter, CEO of the Small Multifamily Owners Association and a landlord himself. They've required the states and the cities to create entire new infrastructures to get the money out, instead of using the existing community-based organizations and safety nets. Yeah, and this goes back into some of the stuff I was saying earlier, okay? They decided that they needed to create all new, hire new staff, create all new systems, whole new programs in order to get this money to the landlords who are in need, okay? And that caused huge amounts of delay. Rather than just cutting checks, just getting the money, cutting the check, getting it to the landlord as quickly as possible, they just said, no, we have to create this whole new bureaucracy. And, it's just created a system where people have applied for rental assistance and it's been 4 or 5 months and they haven't gotten a response yet. And I went over stories like this in California. I went over stories like this in Texas. I mean, it's all over the country and it's the same problem over and over again. Hunter contends that small landlords are being treated like large corporations, but instead it should have been included in the small business relief package, the Paycheck Protection Program. Yeah, and I agree with that, okay? So the Paycheck Protection Program, they got the money out to small business owners to make sure that their employees continued to get paid. They got that money out to them super fast. I mean, they just, it was within weeks. So they didn't create a whole new system or a whole new infrastructure in order to get that money out. They just said, hey, we need to get this money out here immediately. But they specifically excluded landlords from that sort of thing. And, you can see the result. Now we end up with this huge, eviction problem all throughout the country. And yeah, I mean, what are we supposed to do? I mean, we're waiting for this eviction moratorium to end at this point so that we can just get rid of these non-paying tenants, because simply put, we can't, a lot of us, we're not going to rely upon this rental assistance. Yeah, it would have been nice if they had developed the program so that it worked well for us, but they didn't. And now our only recourse is to just get the tenants out of our properties and get paying tenants into our properties. So let me finish up this article, and let's see here. After extending the eviction moratorium, the Biden administration outlined measures it would take to further assist both renters and landlords. It said the U.S. Treasury would clarify how grantees may achieve economies of scale by obtaining information in bulk from utility providers and landlords with multiple units to help speed the determination of household eligibility, and to bundle in a single payment approved amounts for the benefit of multiple eligible tenants. That and other efforts from state and local governments should help some, but if landlords don't get the relief they need, there will be ramifications for the wider housing market. What there is going to be a tsunami of is a loss of naturally occurring affordable housing because small landlords are going to sell their properties, said Hunter.